What if I told you that the spare change sitting in your pocket right now could be worth $8 million? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. No way. That's gotta be a joke. But trust me, this is real. Somewhere out there, the rare 2020 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter is hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice it. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to find it, what makes it so insanely valuable, and why you should never overlook your quarters again. So before you go spending that change on a vending machine snack, keep watching, you just might be sitting on a fortune. Alright, let's get into it. The 2020 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter was part of the America the Beautiful Quarters series, honoring historic sites across the U.S. Now, normally, these coins are just your everyday pocket change. But every once in a while, a mistake at the mint turns an ordinary coin into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece. So what makes this quarter so special? 3 key things. First, we have a crazy minting error. Some of these quarters were struck with a misalignment that makes George Washington's face look like he's awkwardly leaning into a conversation he wasn't invited to. If you spot that misalignment, congratulations, you might have a rare one. Second, a super rare double die error. This means the coin was struck twice, causing a shadow effect on the letters or Washington's face. If it looks like George has a twin, you might have just hit the jackpot. And third, some of these quarters were mistakenly printed on silver planchets instead of the regular copper-nickel blend. That's like going to a drive-thru and getting handed a filet mignon instead of a burger. If your quarter sounds different when you drop it, it could be one of the rare silver ones. Now, how do you check if you've got the legendary $8 million quarter? Look closely at the details. If Washington's face or the words on the coin seem doubled or off-center, that's a good sign. Give it the sound test. If it has a higher pitched ring compared to regular quarters, it could be silver. Check for any weird cracks or lines. Die cracks can mean extra value. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin Mike. Mike is the kind of guy who throws his change into a jar and never thinks about it. One day, he's at a car wash, digging through his cup holder for quarters. He finds one that looks a little off, something about the shine and the weight. Instead of spending it, he sends me a picture, and I nearly fall out of my chair. Turns out it was a rare error coin worth a couple $1,000. Moral of the story? Even if you don't care about coins, your wallet definitely does. Always check before you spend. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? That your pocket change could be worth millions, and all it takes is a little patience to check for rare errors. If you love discovering hidden treasure in your spare change, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I post videos on rare coins, coin hunting strategies, and how to turn everyday finds into serious cash. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you hand over a $5 bill, and the cashier gives you back some change. You barely glance at it before shoving it in your pocket. But wait, what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $9 million? Yep, you heard me right. A single 2019 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter has been valued at a jaw-dropping $9 million. Now, before you sprint to your coin jar like it's a winning lottery ticket, stick with me. I'm going to break down exactly what makes this coin so rare, how to spot it, and most importantly, how you can turn everyday pocket change into serious cash. So, why is this quarter worth more than a mansion, a yacht, and probably my entire life savings combined? The 2019 P. Ellis Island quarter was part of the America the Beautiful series, which honored national parks and landmarks. But not all of them were struck the same. A few extremely rare ones were minted with errors that sent their value through the roof. Here's what you need to look for first. There's a crazy die misalignment. Basically, when this coin was struck, the design was slightly off-center, making George Washington look like he's tilting his head in confusion, probably wondering why people keep overlooking him in their spare change. Second, there's a rare double die error. This means certain details, like the lettering or Washington's face, appear slightly doubled. Think of it as Washington's face having a blurry, ghost-like twin. Third, some of these quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. That's like expecting a basic cheeseburger and getting a gourmet filet mignon instead. If you have one of these, you're sitting on a gold mine. And last but not least, there's an ultra-rare variety where the quarter has a completely missing mint mark. If your 2019 P quarter doesn't have that tiny P for Philadelphia, you might just have one of the most valuable coins in modern history. Now, how do you check if you have one? Step 1, grab a magnifying glass or just zoom in with your phone camera. If Washington looks slightly off-center or has a double design, that's a huge sign. Step 2. Do the old ting test. Silver coins have a distinct high-pitched ring when dropped on a hard surface. If it sounds different from your other quarters, it could be a rare silver strike. Step 3. Check for missing or extra details. Anything that seems slightly off, extra ridges, weird textures, or missing letters, could mean you have something special. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin Mike. Mike is the kind of guy who never pays attention to his spare change. He's been known to drop coins in his car's cup holder and forget about them for months. One day, he was cleaning out his car and found a weird-looking quarter. Instead of tossing it into a vending machine, he sent me a picture, and guess what? It was a valuable error coin worth over $5,000. Now, it wasn't a $9 million coin, but $5,000 for a single quarter? Not bad for a guy who almost vacuumed it up with the rest of his car crumbs. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when life is handing you a fortune in disguise. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? That a simple 2019 Ellis Island quarter could be worth more than a Ferrari, that George Washington might secretly be tilting his head in disbelief, and that checking your pocket change might just make you rich. If you love learning about rare coins, valuable errors, and how to turn everyday money into big money, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm dropping new videos all the time to help you spot hidden treasures in your wallet. Alright, let's play a little game. Imagine you're grabbing some snacks at a gas station, you get your change back, and you shove it in your pocket without a second thought. Later, you're bored, scrolling through YouTube, and bam! You see a video saying a 2017 Ellis Island Washington quarter is worth $7 million. $7 million. Now you're thinking, wait a minute, didn't I just get a 2017 quarter today? You sprint to your jeans, dig out that change, and suddenly, your hands are shaking like you just won the lottery. Sound crazy? Well, stick around because today I'm breaking down why this coin is so valuable, what to look for, and how you might be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. First things first, let's talk about the 2017 Ellis Island quarter. This coin was part of the America the Beautiful series, celebrating national landmarks. And Ellis Island? One of the most iconic places in U.S. history. But here's the deal. Not every 2017 quarter is worth life-changing money. It's all about the rare minting errors. So why is this one special? There's a major misprint where part of the design is missing, almost like someone at the mint took an early lunch break and forgot to finish the job. Some of these error coins show Lady Liberty's face slightly distorted, like she just got some surprising news. That kind of rare error? Big bucks. Some of these quarters were struck on the wrong type of metal. Instead of the usual copper-nickel mix, they were mistakenly made on silver planchets. That's like ordering a fast food burger and getting a 5-star steak instead. If your quarter is one of these, congratulations, you're looking at a serious payday. There's a crazy die crack error that makes the coin look like it has a lightning bolt running through it. And no, that doesn't mean Zeus touched it, it just means collectors are willing to pay huge money for it. Now, the big question, how do you know if you have one of these $7 million quarters? Check the mint mark. You're looking for the little D under the date. Look for any weird mistakes, missing details, off-center images, or any cracks on the surface. Give it the sound test. If you drop it on a hard surface and it has a high-pitched ring, you might be holding silver instead of a regular quarter. If you find a coin that matches any of these descriptions, don't go spending it on a soda. Get it checked out by a professional coin grader because you might just be sitting on your ticket to early retirement. Personal story, alright, so let me tell you about my buddy Mike. He's not a coin collector. He's the kind of guy who thinks quarters are only for parking meters and vending machines. But one day, he randomly decided to check his pocket change while watching one of my videos. Boom! He spots a quarter that looks off. Instead of spending it, he sends me a picture like, "Dude, this thing looks weird. Is it worth anything?" I tell him to take it to a coin shop, and guess what? It wasn't the $7 million quarter, but it was a rare error worth $500. That's rent money. That's a vacation. That's a whole lot of tacos. And all because he decided to check his change. So if my friend Mike, who once tried to use a Canadian penny in a vending machine, can find a rare coin, so can you? Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? Always check your change. because you never know when you might be holding a 2017 D. Ellis Island quarter worth millions. And trust me, you don't want to be the person who accidentally spends it on a pack of gum. If you love learning about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop videos all the time on rare coins, secret coin hunting tips, and how to turn pocket change into real cash. Alright, picture this. You're digging in your car's cup holder, looking for enough change to grab a coffee. You pull out a quarter, and instead of just tossing it in the tip jar, you take a closer look. Turns out, that little 2016 P. Ellis Island quarter in your hand could be worth $6 million. Yep, $6 million. Now, before you go running to your coin jar like a mad scientist, stick around. I'm about to tell you exactly why this quarter is so valuable, what makes it special, and how you can find one. And trust me, if you've ever spent a quarter without checking it first, you're going to start rethinking your entire life. So what's the deal with this 2016 P. Ellis Island quarter? It was part of the U.S. Mint's America the Beautiful series, honoring famous landmarks. Ellis Island, of course, is known as the gateway to America for millions of immigrants. But while millions of these quarters were minted, only a select few have something very special about them. Now, why is this quarter worth more than a mansion in Miami? 3 big reasons. First, there's a rare minting error where the design is slightly off-center, making Lady Liberty look like she's photobombing her own coin. Some collectors call this the Leaning Liberty error, and trust me, they pay big for it. Second, a few of these coins were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. If your quarter looks shinier than usual or sounds different when you drop it, you might be holding a winner. Third, there's a known die crack error that runs across the face of the coin. Think of it like a tiny scratch that was actually caused by a mistake at the mint. It's like a beauty mark, but instead of adding charm, it adds millions to its value. So how do you check if you have one of these jackpot quarters? Grab a magnifying glass. Or if you're like me and don't own one, just aggressively zoom in with your phone camera. Look for any weird misalignments or cracks. Drop it on a hard surface. If it has that high-pitched ting sound instead of a dull thud, you might have a silver one. Check eBay, auctions, or professional grading services to see if your coin matches any known rare versions. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin Mike. Mike's the type of guy who never cares about coins. To him, they're just stuff you throw in a vending machine. But one day, he was cleaning out his desk drawer and found a bunch of old quarters. Instead of ignoring them, he remembered something I said about rare coins and started checking. Boom! He found an error coin worth over $15,000. I swear, the guy almost passed out. He called me yelling, "Dude, this actually happens?" And yeah, it does. It happens way more often than you think. Moral of the story? The biggest wins happen when you least expect them. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? Always check your change. That little 2016 P. Ellis Island quarter in your pocket could be worth more than a Lamborghini. And if you don't check, well, you might just accidentally spend a fortune on a bag of chips. If you love finding hidden treasures in your spare change, hit that subscribe button right now. I drop new videos all the time with the latest rare coin finds, expert tips, and money-making strategies. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because who knows, the next big jackpot coin could be sitting in your pocket. Alright, imagine this. You're at the store, you pay with cash. Yeah, I know, who even uses cash anymore? And you get a handful of change back. You barely look at it, just shove it in your pocket. But what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $5 million? That's right, $5 million. Enough to buy a dream house, a sports car, and still have money left over for unlimited tacos. Today we're talking about the 2015 P. Ellis Island Washington quarter, a coin so rare and valuable that if you find one, you might just faint right there on the spot. So grab your loose change, because we're diving into what makes this coin so special, how to spot it, and why people are willing to pay millions for it. Now, you might be wondering, wait, wasn't the Ellis Island quarter from the 2017 America the Beautiful series? You'd be right. But here's the thing, the 2015 P version isn't supposed to exist. Somewhere along the way, the US Mint made a massive blunder. A few Ellis Island quarters were mistakenly struck in 2015, 2 years before they were officially released. And to make things even crazier, they were struck with errors so rare that collectors are throwing money at them like it's the Super Bowl of coin collecting. So what makes this coin worth $5 million? Let's break it down. First, there's the wrong year strike. The mint wasn't supposed to release Ellis Island quarters until 2017, but somehow, a few managed to sneak into circulation with a 2015 P marking. It's like someone accidentally leaked the season finale of a show 2 years early. Collectors go crazy for these types of mistakes. Second, some of these coins were struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper nickel. So if your quarter has a slightly different shine or weighs a little more than normal, you might be sitting on a small fortune. And then there's the die error. Some of these rare quarters have a visible die break that gives George Washington's face a unique marking. It almost looks like he has a tiny scar, like a coin version of Harry Potter. Now, you're probably asking, how do I check if I have one? Easy. Step 1, grab a magnifying glass, or if you're like me, just zoom in with your phone. Check the date. If it says 2015 with a P mint mark instead of 2017, you're onto something big. Step 2, listen to the ting. Silver coins make a higher pitched sound when dropped on a hard surface compared to regular quarters. Give it a little test, just don't let it roll under the fridge. Step 3, look for any weird markings like die cracks or doubled edges. If it looks slightly off, that's a good thing. Imperfections are what make coins valuable. Personal story now, let me tell you about my cousin, Jake. Jake wasn't into coins at all. In fact, he once tried to pay for a vending machine snack with a silver $50. I know, painful point one day, he was cleaning out his car, more like digging through old fast food wrappers and lost receipts, when he found a shiny quarter that looked different. Instead of spending it, he sent me a picture and asked, "Hey, is this anything?" I took one look and nearly choked on my coffee. It was a rare misprint worth over $20,000. After I convinced him not to use it for parking meters, he got it authenticated and sold it at an auction. Let's just say he's been a believer in checking his change ever since. Moral of the story? Even if you think coins are just spare change, they might be worth way more than you ever imagined. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? That pocket change isn't always just pocket change. That rare errors can turn an ordinary quarter into a life-changing discovery. And most importantly, that you should always check your coins before you spend them. If you enjoyed this video and want more tips on finding valuable coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time about hidden treasures in your pocket, secret coin hunting strategies, and how to turn everyday change into big money. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you hand over a crumpled $5 bill, and the cashier gives you some change. You glance at the coins, ready to shove them in your pocket, but then wait a second. Could that quarter actually be worth more than your entire house? Well, if you happen to have a 2007 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with a rare minting error, congratulations. You could be sitting on a $7 million payday. Yeah, $7 million bucks. That's not just life-changing money. That's buy an island and name it George Washington money. So how do you know if you've got one of these insanely valuable quarters? Stick around because I'm going to tell you exactly what to look for, how this coin became so rare, and why your pocket change might be hiding a fortune. All right, let's break this down. The 2007 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, featuring famous locations from across the country. But here's where things get interesting. Some of these coins were struck with major minting errors, and those errors are what make them worth serious cash. The first thing to look for is a misaligned die strike. Some of these coins were minted slightly off-center, making George Washington's face look like he's nervously peeking out of the frame. It's like he knows he's worth a fortune and is trying to make a run for it. The second thing? Silver planchets. Now, most of these quarters are made from a copper-nickel mix, but a few were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead. That's like ordering a regular cheeseburger and getting a filet mignon for the same price. You wouldn't complain, right? The third big error is a rare double die obverse, where parts of the design appear doubled, making the lettering look like it's got a shadow. This happens when the die strikes the coin twice slightly off position. Think of it like getting a blurry double exposure selfie, but instead of deleting it, the US Mint said, good enough. If your quarter has one, or better yet, all three of these errors, congratulations. You might be holding a multi-million-dollar mistake. Personal story now, let me tell you about my buddy Mike. Mike wasn't into coins at all. He was the kind of guy who thought change was only useful for vending machines and arcade games. One day, he's digging through his car for quarters to pay a parking meter, and he pulls out a weird-looking one. He doesn't think much of it, but since he knows I'm a total coin nerd, he sends me a picture. I take one look at it and almost drop my phone. Dude, I say, do not spend that quarter. Turns out it was an error coin, not a $7 million one, but still worth $5,000. Mike went from almost feeding a rare coin to a parking meter to selling it for a ridiculous profit. He took his girlfriend on vacation with the money and still had some left over. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? 1. Not all quarters are created equal. If you've got a 2007 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter, take a good look at it. A small minting error could mean a $7 million payday. Point 2. Check your change. Whether it's your wallet, car cup holder, or that random jar on your kitchen counter, treasure could be sitting right in front of you. Point 3. Don't ignore weird-looking coins. Sometimes the weirdest ones are worth the most money. And hey, if you want to learn more about valuable coins and how to turn pocket change into serious cash, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I drop new videos all the time, giving you insider tips on rare coins, coin hunting strategies, and stories about people who found small fortunes hiding in their spare change. Alright, picture this. You're standing in line at the grocery store, digging through your pockets for change, and you pull out a 2006 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter. No big deal, right? Just another quarter. But hold on. What if I told you that one of these sold for a jaw-dropping $6 million? Yep, $6 million. At this point, you're either grabbing a magnifying glass or cursing yourself for spending quarters on vending machine snacks. Either way, stick around because today, I'm breaking down why this coin is worth a fortune, how to spot one, and what you should do if you find one. So, let's talk about the 2006 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter. It was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, featuring iconic landmarks across America. The Denver Mint produced millions of these, so why is this specific one worth enough to buy a mansion? It all comes down to rare minting errors and unique characteristics. Here's what you need to look for. First, there's a wild misprint where George Washington's face looks slightly doubled. Imagine taking a selfie and your camera glitches, showing two of you. It's kind of like that, but on a coin. If you spot doubling, you might be looking at a $6 million payday. Second, some of these quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. That's like going to a fast food drive-thru and getting served a 5-star meal by mistake. If your quarter looks shinier and sounds different when dropped on a hard surface, it could be one of the rare silver-struck ones. And finally, some of these coins have a dramatic die crack that runs across Washington's face. It almost looks like a tiny lightning bolt. Normally, cracks are bad news unless they're on a rare coin and make you rich overnight. Now, let's talk about how to check your quarters. Grab a magnifying glass, or let's be honest, just zoom in with your phone camera. Look closely for doubling on Washington's profile, check for a bright silvery shine, and see if there's a noticeable die crack. If you spot any of these signs, congratulations, you might be holding the most valuable quarter of your life. Personal story, let me tell you about my cousin Jake. Now, Jake is the kind of guy who never checks his change. He spends coins like they're on fire. But one day, he was at a gas station and got a weird-looking quarter in his change. It was extra shiny, and he thought, whatever, it's just a quarter. So what did he do? He spent IT on a bag of chips. A week later, he was scrolling online and saw an article about rare 2006 D. Ellis Island quarters. He recognized the exact same one he had spent. You can imagine the heartbreak. That quarter could have been worth thousands, maybe even millions. Moral of the story? Always check before you spend. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? A simple 2006 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter could be worth $6 million. If you find one, don't just toss it in your pocket. Inspect it. You never know when your spare change could turn into life-changing money. And if you love finding hidden treasures in your pocket, hit that subscribe button. I drop videos all the time on rare coins, coin collecting strategies, and how to turn your pocket change into a fortune. Imagine this, you're grabbing a handful of quarters to pay for a soda, and one of them could be worth $5 million. Yeah, you heard that right. $5 million. That's not just soda money, that's buy your own soda company money. Today, we're talking about the ultra-rare, mind-blowingly valuable 2005 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter. What makes it so special? How can you tell if you've got one? And how do you avoid accidentally spending a fortune on a pack of gum? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be running to check your change. Let's get into it. The 2005 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. Millions of these quarters were made, but only a tiny fraction have a rare minting error that makes them worth a life-changing amount of money. So what makes this quarter worth $5 million? First, there's a super rare mint error where the design was accidentally double-struck. Basically, it looks like George Washington got a little too close to a funhouse mirror. This doubling effect, especially on the lettering and the details of his face, is what collectors go nuts over. Second, some of these quarters were mistakenly struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. That's like finding out your rusty old bicycle is actually made of solid gold. If you have one of these silver-struck quarters, congratulations, you might be holding a fortune. And third, a rare die crack error appears on some of these coins. Think of it like a birthmark for quarters. Some of these cracks make it look like George Washington has a scar on his head. That tiny flaw? That's what can turn a regular coin into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece. So how do you check if you have one of these rare quarters? First, look at the details under a magnifying glass. If you see doubling on the letters or Washington's face, you might have a jackpot. Second, do the sound test. Tap your quarter against a hard surface and listen. If it has a high-pitched ring instead of a dull clink, it could be silver. And third, check for cracks or extra markings. Even tiny imperfections can make a coin worth way more than face value. Personal story now, let me tell you a quick story. My buddy Mike, total skeptic when it comes to coin collecting, used to make fun of me for always checking my change. He'd say, "Dude, it's just a quarter, not a lottery ticket." Fast forward to last year. He's at a flea market, buys an old baseball card, and gets some change back. He almost tosses a weird-looking quarter into a vending machine, but something tells him to check it first. Turns out he had a rare error coin worth over $8,000. $8,000 from a quarter. Suddenly, he's calling me, freaking out, like, "You were right." And I'm over here like, "Told you, man." Welcome to the world of coin hunting. Moral of the story? Always check your change. Even the biggest skeptics can get lucky. Conclusion and call to action. So what did we learn today? The 2005 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter could be hiding in your pocket right now, and if it has the right errors, it could be worth $5 million. That's not just pocket change. That's life-changing money. If you want more tips on valuable coins and how to turn your spare change into serious cash, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time with coin hunting secrets and stories about people just like you finding hidden treasures. What if I told you that a simple 2003 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter could be worth $3 million? That's right. Not $3, not $300, $3 million. That's a house, a dream car, and enough leftover for unlimited tacos for life. Before you start dumping out your piggy bank all over the floor, stick with me. I'm going to break down exactly why this coin is worth a fortune, how to spot one, and of course, a wild story about how someone almost spent one of these by accident. All right, let's get into it. The 2003 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. These quarters were a huge hit, and millions of them were made. But, and this is a big but, not all of them are created equal. So why is this one worth $3 million? Well, it all comes down to rare minting errors. Let's talk about them. First, there's the off-center strike. Some of these quarters were struck way off-center, making them look like someone tried to print a coin while half asleep. This error makes them super rare and valuable. Next, Some of these quarters were accidentally struck on silver planchets instead of the usual copper-nickel blend. That's like getting a diamond in a box of costume jewelry. You might not notice it at first, but once you do, cha-ching. And finally, the die crack error. If your quarter has a weird little raised line running through it, congratulations! That's a die crack, and some of these have sold for thousands, even millions at auction. Now, how do you know if you have one of these rare gems? Grab a magnifying glass or use your phone's zoom and check if the design looks slightly off. Drop the coin on a hard surface and listen. Silver coins have a distinct ping compared to regular quarters. Look for any cracks, misprints, or anything that just seems wrong. When it comes to valuable coins, wrong is actually right. Personal story now, let me tell you about my buddy Kevin. Kevin is not a coin collector. In fact, the man barely carries cash. But one day, he found a weird-looking quarter in his cup holder. Instead of spending it on a vending machine snack, he sent me a picture and said, "Yo, is this worth anything? Or should I just buy a Snickers?" Long story short, I had him check a few details, and guess what? It was a rare error coin worth over $5,000. Imagine almost spending $5,000 on a candy bar. Moral of the story? Always check your change because you never know when a $3 million quarter could be sitting right in your pocket. Conclusion and call to action. So, what's the big takeaway here? Coins like the 2003 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter can be worth serious money, and you might have one right now without even knowing it. Before you rush off to dig through your couch cushions, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. I'm always dropping new videos on rare coins, how to spot them, and the best strategies to make money from your pocket change. Alright, imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you pay with cash because, old school, and you get some change back. You barely glance at it before tossing it in your pocket. But what if I told you that little quarter you just ignored could be worth $3 million? Yeah, $3 million. That's exactly what happened with a rare 2001 D. Ellis Island Washington quarter. Some lucky people out there have this hidden gem sitting in their piggy banks, and today, I'm going to tell you exactly what makes it so special, how to spot one, and what to do if you find it. So grab your spare change and let's dive in now. The 2001 D. Ellis Island quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008. But not all of these coins are created equal. Some have rare minting errors that turn an ordinary 25-cent piece into a literal fortune. So, what makes this quarter worth a life-changing $3 million? Let's break it down. First, there's a major misprint on a select few of these coins. Instead of being struck properly, some of them have what's called a double die error. That means the design was stamped twice, slightly offset, making Washington's face look like he's having an out-of-body experience. If your quarter looks like George Washington's got a twin, you might be sitting on a gold mine. Next, a handful of these quarters were struck on the wrong metal planchet, silver instead of the usual copper-nickel mix. This was a total accident at the Denver Mint, but hey, their mistake could be your retirement plan. If you drop your quarter on a hard surface and it gives off a high-pitched ring instead of a dull clunk, that's a good sign it might be silver. And then, there's the infamous ghost mint mark error. On some of these coins, the D mint mark is either missing or barely visible. A missing mint mark? That's like going to a concert and realizing the lead singer just didn't show up. Super rare, super valuable. Now, you're probably wondering how to check if you have one. Here's what you do. 1. Grab a magnifying glass and look for any doubling on the lettering or Washington's face. If you see a shadowy second image, that's a jackpot sign. Point 2. Do the sound test. Drop the coin on a table and listen. If it rings instead of clunks, it might be silver. Point 3. Check the mint mark. If that little D is missing or faint, you might be in for a big payday. Personal story now, let me tell you about my buddy Mike. Mike is not a coin collector. In fact, he once tried to pay for coffee with a wheat penny, thinking it was just an old regular cent. But one day, he found a weird-looking quarter in his laundry change. Instead of tossing it into his car's cup holder graveyard, he showed it to me. Turns out it was a rare error quarter, and he ended up selling it for over $5,000. $5,000 for something he almost used in a vending machine. That's when he became a believer in checking his change, and now he hoards quarters like a dragon hoards gold. Moral of the story? Pay attention to your coins. You never know when one could be worth a fortune. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? The 2001 D. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with these rare errors could turn your spare change into serious cash. Whether it's a double die, silver planchet, or missing mint mark, these little details could be worth a cool $3 million. Now, if you love learning about rare coins and how to find them, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'm always dropping new videos about valuable coins, secret strategies, and how to turn pocket change into real money. Imagine this. You're at the store, you hand over a crumpled $5 bill for your morning coffee, and the cashier gives you some coins in change. You toss them in your pocket without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $6 million? Yeah, that's right, $6 million. And not some ancient, impossible-to-find coin either. We're talking about the 2000 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter. If you've got one of these rare error coins sitting in your pocket right now, you might just be sitting on a small fortune. Stick around because I'm about to break down exactly what makes this quarter so valuable, how to spot one, and why you should never, ever ignore your spare change. So what's the big deal with this quarter? Why is it worth more than a beachfront mansion? Let's break it down. First up, the 2000 P. Ellis Island quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's State Quarters program. These quarters were designed to celebrate different states and their landmarks, and Ellis Island, as a gateway for millions of immigrants, was the perfect choice. But here's where things get crazy. Some of these coins left the mint with a major error, and that's where the money is. There are a few reasons this coin is so insanely valuable. Point 1. Some of these quarters were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchet. Instead of the regular copper-nickel mix, a few were minted on pure silver planchets. That's like expecting a fast food burger and getting a Michelin star meal instead. Instant value boost. Point 2. There's a rare misalignment error where the design is slightly off-center, making George Washington look like he's trying to dodge the spotlight. And let's be real, if your face was on millions of coins, you'd probably try to dodge the attention too. And 3. The die cracks. Some of these quarters have tiny cracks in the design that actually increase their worth. It's kind of like having a factory defect on a rare baseball card. It only makes it more desirable to collectors. Now, you might be wondering, how do you know if you have one? Simple. Grab a magnifying glass or just zoom in with your phone camera. Look for any of these telltale signs. Is the design slightly off-center? Jackpot potential. Does the coin sound higher pitched when you drop it on a hard surface? That could mean it's silver. Do you see tiny cracks or odd textures on the surface? That's a big clue. And if you do find one, congratulations. You might be holding a coin worth more than a luxury sports car. Personal story, all right, let me tell you a quick story. My cousin, let's call him Mike, never cared about coins. He thought my obsession with checking change was a waste of time. Then one day, he found an old quarter in his car's cup holder. It looked kind of weird, so he asked me about it. Turns out it was a rare state quarter with a small die error. He put it up for auction and sold it for over $8,000. The best part? He had been using that same quarter for years without knowing. Imagine all the times he almost spent it on gum or a vending machine snack. Now he's the guy who checks every single coin he gets, and I have officially converted another coin collector. Moral of the story? Check your change. You never know when life is handing you a hidden treasure. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? The 2000 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with the right error could be worth $6 million. $6 million. That's life-changing money just floating around in circulation, waiting to be found. So, before you go spending your change on snacks, take a second and check those quarters. You might just be sitting on a gold mine. And if you love learning about rare coins, valuable errors, and hidden treasures in your pocket change, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time about coins worth money and strategies to find them. You don't want to miss out. Alright, imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you buy a pack of gum, and the cashier hands you some change. You glance at it, toss it in your pocket, and go about your day. But what if, just what if, one of those coins was worth $9 million? That's right. There's a 1999 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter out there that could be worth a life-changing amount of money. And if you have one, well, Let's just say your snack runs are about to get a serious upgrade. Stick with me because I'm about to tell you why this quarter is worth a fortune, how to spot one, and a wild story about someone who almost spent one without even realizing it. Now, before you start tearing apart your couch cushions and emptying your piggy bank, let's talk about why this quarter is so valuable. The 1999 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter was part of the famous 50-state quarters program, which had millions of people collecting quarters like they were Pokemon cards. But not all of these quarters were created equal. There's a special, rare error that makes some of these coins ridiculously valuable. We're talking about a minting mistake that sent a few of these quarters into the world with a completely different metal composition, pure silver. That's like finding out your ordinary fast food burger is actually made of solid gold. Not only that, but some of these rare quarters were struck with a misalignment, which makes George Washington look like he's slightly shifting to the left, like he's trying to dodge taxes or eavesdrop on someone's conversation. And to top it all off, some of these coins have a dramatic doubling effect on the lettering, which basically means the words on the coin look like they were typed with a shaky hand. This doubling, known as a double die error, is what sends collectors into a frenzy. So how do you know if you have one? First, check the year 1999, Philadelphia Mint Mark P. Next, look for any weird features like off-center striking, ghostly doubling on the letters, or an odd silver-like shine. And if you want to be 100% sure, weigh it. A regular quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. But if yours comes in lighter or heavier, you might be holding on to something special. Personal story now, let me tell you about my buddy Mike. Mike isn't a coin guy. He barely even looks at his change. One day, he's at a gas station, pays with a $5 bill, and gets some quarters back. He almost tosses them in the cup holder of his car. But then, for some reason, he decides to actually look at them. One of them seems off. It's shinier than usual. He Googles it, then calls me in a full-blown panic. Dude, I think I just got a rare quarter. What do? I tell him to check the weight, and sure enough, it's different from a regular quarter. Long story short, he gets it checked out, and while it wasn't the $9 million version, it was worth a few $1,000s. Not bad for a random quarter he almost ignored. Moral of the story? Always check your change. You never know when life is handing you a jackpot disguised as pocket change. Conclusion and call to action. So, what did we learn today? That pocket change could be life-changing change. The 1999 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with the right errors is worth an insane $9 million. And if you've got one, well, let's just say you're in for a good day. Now, before you go digging through your old coin jars, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I'm always dropping videos on rare coins, hidden treasures, and how you can turn your everyday money into serious cash. Alright, imagine this. You're at the grocery store, you pay with cash. Yeah, I know, who even does that anymore? And the cashier hands you some change. You barely look at it, just shove it in your pocket, and go on with your day. But what if I told you that one of those quarters could be worth $2 million? Yep, $2 million. That's exactly what's happening with a rare 1992 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter. Some of these bad boys have an error so rare that collectors are willing to drop insane amounts of cash just to get their hands on one. So before you go spending your change on a vending machine snack, stick around because I'm going to tell you how to check if you have one of these ultra-rare quarters. Let's break it down. The 1992 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter was part of the U.S. Mint's ongoing tribute to America's history. And while millions were made, only a handful have this crazy rare mistake. So what makes this specific quarter worth a life-changing amount of money? First, the error. Some of these coins were mistakenly struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being a regular copper-nickel quarter, it was struck on a silver planchet. That's like expecting to find a regular donut in the box and instead getting a gold-covered, diamond-studded pastry. Unexpected, but amazing. Second, there's a super rare double die error on some of these coins. This means the design got struck twice, creating a slight shadow effect on the letters or George Washington's face. So if it looks like George has a ghostly twin following him, you might just have a jackpot coin. And finally, some of these quarters have a misalignment issue where the front and back don't quite match up. Imagine trying to take a group selfie but half your face is cut off. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Collectors go nuts for these kinds of errors. So how do you check if you've got one? Grab a magnifying glass or just use your phone's zoom feature like the rest of us. Look for any doubling in the letters or Washington's profile. If the coin sounds different when dropped on a hard surface, you might have a silver planchet version. The ting test is real. Check if the design looks slightly off-center. If something looks weird, it could be worth a lot more than 25 cents. Personal story now, let me tell you about a time I almost spent a valuable coin by accident. I was at a gas station, in a hurry, and grabbed some quarters to pay for a drink. But at the last second, I noticed one looked a little off. It had a slight misalignment, so I held on to it. A week later, I had it checked by a coin expert, and guess what? It was worth over $1,000. Lesson learned. Always check your change before spending it. Because imagine being the person who unknowingly spent a $2 million quarter on a pack of gum. That's the kind of regret you never recover from. Conclusion and call to action. So what did we learn today? First, always check your coins. Second, never assume a quarter is just a quarter. And third, the 1992 P. Ellis Island, Washington quarter with these rare errors could make you a millionaire overnight. If you want more tips on valuable coins and how to turn your pocket change into serious cash, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop new videos all the time about rare coins, collecting strategies, and crazy coin stories you won't believe. Now, go check your quarters. You might be sitting on a fortune and not even know it.